Hello, and in this video I'm going to go over creating my mobile cooling watering station, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start building with the sides. I'll explain everything that's going on as we go through the video, but in this case the first thing I did was kind of measure out where the 4x4 goes from 2 inches in. In the back here I'm doing a 2x4 at 8 inches in so I can leave space for some wheels, and I'm just screwing these in like normal with 3 screws, and I'm pre-drilling and drilling in the kind of the hex screws in. And then here's a little bit of a closer up, and I'm using a square, so I make sure to get everything perfectly square, or as square as I can get it. It doesn't need to be exactly perfect, because at the end of the day it's not fine furniture. As you might notice, I'm actually using cedar wood for this project, and here I have the first side done, and now working on the other side so that I get the right angle there. And basically all I did was make sure that the board met kind of at the top little corner, and the back end was about an inch off from the bottom plate thing that's going to actually be kind of the floor. So with that done, I have the 2 sides ready to go, and I'm ready to start considering what to do. First, I was going to go with a 33, 34, 35 area inch width in this case, but I think I went ahead and expanded that to 45 inches. In all honesty, I should have probably gone a little bit further, but I'm going to go ahead and use pocket hole screws to screw them together by first setting it on the ground, screwing those 2 in, and then I can just stand it up and kind of get it really close to where they need to be, and then just kind of hold it there, and I'll screw them in on both the top and the bottom. And that's one of the great things about pocket holes, by doing pocket holes jig and screws, is they just go together well. And I'm using the outdoor-indoor combination screws so that they can actually stay nice. Next, I'm ready to actually start kind of going towards doing the roof, but the first thing I needed to do here was put in a support brace to add more rigidity to the structure, and another place to screw down the roof, as well as also a little bit of weight so that the thing doesn't go blowing everywhere. And again, I'm using pocket hole screws to make this really nice, really fast, and really easy. Now we're ready to actually start putting in the roof. I kind of just lining it up and doing the bottom. I'm checking a little bit for square on everything. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be good enough. I overhang the side a little bit so that it doesn't have to be perfectly square, and it kind of prevents, kind of some water from potentially rushing in. And then here I'm just gonna screw down the entire thing and set the other one up and get that going. Off camera I actually trimmed the top, and I wasn't really sure exactly what to use. I actually ended up using some pin snips and just kind of cut along it, and it actually worked out pretty well. I was kind of surprised. So that's how I ended up trimming off the top of the excess. One little part about this is I am actually using a kind of a drill bit thing that has a kind of a socket end, because the screws that I'm using actually have the little rubber seals inside of them, or on the outside, so that it actually gets a seal on the thing so it doesn't leak with water. Having that socket end to be able to screw in these screws was just super nice, and if you don't have any, I really recommend getting them, because it just made this process a lot easier. So with the main structure done, we're ready to start and deal with what's going to hold up our PVC pipes that we're going to use for water. And we'll get to that in a minute, but first I am basically doing 2 plates, and they're going to be 4 total, 1 for each side, 1 for each 4x4, because the 4x4 is actually going to kind of be the structure that kind of provides shade and gives kind of a thing for the water to hold on to. And note that how that's working. What's going to happen is there's going to be a square like knob thing where the PVC screws on, and that space there is going to be allowing for that area. I'm just pre-drilling screws, and it's going to wrap around the 4x4. And now that these are done, I think we're ready to actually attach them. I'm just going to line them up. They're about 20 inches from the floor, so that it has enough space for the PVC to sit and to get a good height for the chickens to drink from. In all reality, I didn't need to end up using the level because it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but I was just trying to get in the habit of trying to make things line up. Now, here I'm taking a 4-inch PVC pipe that kind of elbows down to a 2-inch, and I'm putting on this bottom so that I can screw on a cap, so that at some point, frequently, probably once a month or so, depending on how nasty things get, I can take it apart and clean it. And then for the 2-inch side, I am doing another converter that goes down from 2 inches to 1/4 inch, because I'm using 1/4 inch pipe all the way across for the water nipples, and I'm trying to put my weight on it to make sure that I get plenty of pressure on it to get a good solid seal on everything, because I don't actually want it to go anywhere, and I also don't want it to leak. Here I'm using strapping so that the thing can stay there. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for like keeping it there once it's attached, but I decided these 4-inch pipes would go really good with just kind of doing a strapping to it. And then here I'm just kind of gluing in these pipes. Don't recommend a hacksaw. I actually forgot about using a miter saw. I ended up using that later on for something else, and so I recommend using a miter saw if you have a big enough one. And here are the 10-inch pipes, the 10-inch long, 4-inch diameter pipes I'm attaching on. And as you can see, I have that really long 1/2-inch pipe already there, and I have these little T things that go from 1/2 inch to specifically designed for the water nipples. And so I'm just kind of screwing on the pipe because you have a screw on end, and it kind of pressures together here. Now, I did not seal this going all the way across, and there actually is a very minor leak that doesn't really matter because the chickens are going to drink faster than it actually leaks out. And then note I have the caps on the top, and that's going to prevent it from getting a lot of dust and stuff inside. And notice the water nipples just screw right on. It goes perfectly fine, and it's really good to go. And then finally I'll finish securing it with the strapping. So at this point, we're basically done with the project, and I'm just doing some bolts in here so I can put on some wheels that I can take on and off, just to move it around when I need to move it around, because I'll just take the wheels right back off. And then finally, the last segment, and this actually doesn't go on the thing itself, but these are custom tubes that I'm making to freeze water so I can get some 3-inch blocks of ice so that I can drop those in those 4-inch containers and provide solid blocks of ice to cool down the water so that when it's 100 degrees outside, the chickens have cool water to drink, and they're not solely relying on me trying to refill it all the time. So, I mean, this is kind of definitely an experimental part, but I wanted an easy way to be able to freeze water and get a block of ice out there instead of just having, something that I go find. At one point, I was like freezing, buckets of water that were from like ice cream trays or ice cream buckets, and throwing those out there, and that really wasn't the greatest. So on that, here is the project, and I'm just going to do some beauty shots here, but here it is. It works. The only thing I have left is to actually train the chickens on using the water nipples, but I think it's going to work out. I would actually make this thing bigger, but I'll let you know how things go.